Welcome to episode 32 of the David and Hillary Show.
Today, are you ready? We are hosting our very first guest.
I know it's super exciting.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we only have the technology to have two people and two microphones at the same time, so one of us is going to have to go.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I will play you for it.
All right.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, all right. I win. This week, I will interview the guest.
Okay.
Next week, you will interview the guest.
Sure, why not?
All right, let's do this.
Well, I am excited for our guest, even if I'm not going to be the one to interview him this week. Our guest is my father, Ron McClung, who was a minister for many years and actually held different jobs in the denomination of the Wesleyan Church. So a great man, well accomplished, and I know you two are going to have an awesome conversation.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
And I look forward to having my turn in the next episode to interview him as well. For now, we are still having show and tell this week, and you had made the suggestion that I would show some of my butterfly pictures.
Yes.
So one of my favorite things, I love photography, and I've been showing pictures from West Virginia the last couple of episodes that I took, several of them with my good camera, and I really have fun with that. One of the things I've enjoyed doing in our garden, if you haven't seen previous episodes, we've shown a lot of our garden pictures as well, a lot of flower pictures. But in the summer, we get lots and lots of butterflies with all of the flowers.
And this seems to be their peak time, like right now. If we can go out in the middle of the day, they are everywhere. And
I would say August. We just started. If you're viewing this later, we just started September. But yeah,
it was so beautiful. They just light up the garden.
A dozen or more at the same time, just all over.
Yeah.
All over the flowers. And so I've learned a lot about shooting butterflies with a digital SLR camera. You can sometimes get a decent picture with a cell phone, camera, but the zoom lens on an SLR camera is generally a lot better. And so I've learned several things, tried a lot of things to figure out what worked and what didn't work. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today. We need to get to our interview. But if you don't know a ton about photography, getting close-ups of anything really, but an animal like a butterfly, is called macro photography. And in macro photography, your field of focus is very narrow. In other words, if I've got a camera here and I've got a butterfly here, when I zoom in, only about this much is going to be in focus, meaning everything from here closer to the camera is going to be out of focus, and everything from here away from the camera is going to be out of focus. And so, butterflies aren't that big, but they're bigger than that. So if you have the head of the butterfly here and the tail here, and you only got that much in focus, you really want the head in focus. Also, even the good cameras with great autofocus technology aren't good enough to know which part of the butterfly you want in focus. So if you put it on autofocus, you're going to get whatever. Also, butterflies move a lot faster than people think.
I was going to say, are they very cooperative? Do they stay really still?
They're not great models. Not really. They're beautiful, but they don't know what you want, and they're not trying to please you. Right. They're just trying to get nectar.
That's right.
And
they have their own mission.
Yeah. So if a butterfly is sideways, you may get that whole wing in focus because it's all within that narrow focus plane. But if it's doing this and the camera's here, you got to focus on the right parts, and you have to do it manually, and they're almost constantly moving. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more, but that's an introduction to how hard it is to get good shots with butterflies. And so I just shot literally thousands and thousands of shots. And with digital, that's easy because you can just erase them or whatever if they don't turn out. But here's one of the ones that I got that I really liked. I got two butterflies in this photo, and if you really look, the one on the left is in focus, and because it's sideways, I got his head, his antenna, his legs, the underside of his wing. The one that's a little closer, which is on the right, is just slightly out of focus because it's out of that very narrow in focus area. That's a zinnia that they're on, and you can see the area right under the butterfly on the left is in focus. The petals that are closer to you are a little bit out of focus. What's really fun about this one is the bokeh, which is the really out of focus part in the back, has lots of yellow flowers and some green, and it looks natural but also bright and cheerful.
Yeah.
Best butterfly pictures are in bright sunlight. That's not true for every single thing you want to take photos of, but for butterflies, bright sunlight.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's another one, and this butterfly is not as beautiful, but this is a little skipper. They're a little bit smaller. I believe this is a silver spotted skipper. But
Is that white? Is that a white stripe?
White?
Because it looks light blue.
But this is actually not as bright a light as what I generally try to get, but it's so in focus. It turned out pretty good. So I wanted to show it in real life. That white stripe on the wing looks a little silver when the light hits it just right. That's why it's called a silver spotted skipper.
Okay.
But yeah, these guys are everywhere. Probably the most common butterfly. And then next we had, this is a black swallowtail. There are so many different kinds of black swallowtails, little subspecies and whatever. But this one, the upper wing in the picture, the upper wing, which is the left wing, you're seeing the top of it, and the right wing, you're kind of just seeing a sliver of it on an angle, but that's the bottom. Completely different patterns on the top and the bottom. But I was happy with the way that one turned out. A lot of patience goes into butterfly photography.
Right.
You can move around, and for the most part, some of them are a little more skittish than others, but for the most part, they don't really care that you're there. They just want a meal. They're just looking for the nectar. So you kind of move slowly, and you try to get close, and you try to get the right angle. And, for every really good shot, you probably shoot, if you're experienced, you probably shoot 20 or 30 that you're not going to show anybody. And if you're not experienced, you're probably, and I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating, you're probably going to shoot between 250 and 500 that aren't good enough to show anyone in order to get one good one. So if you try it, don't be too discouraged. The manual focus on moving butterflies, it takes some time. It takes a lot of patience. Well, I also really enjoy shooting bees. Unfortunately,
look how cute he is.
Most of the pictures I pulled out are animals of some sort on pink zinnias. That wasn't on purpose, but yeah, this guy is all furry, and he's got pollen on his legs.
He's working.
He's working. Hard. Yeah, that's the thing with bees too, is they don't care that you're there. They just want the pollen. Here's another one.
This is amazing.
It's kind of, it wasn't really night when I took this, but under the right lighting conditions, I believe I may have used a flash on this one.
Okay.
And if you brighten everything in the foreground, it makes everything in the back somewhat dark by contrast, and sometimes dark enough that it looks like this.
Wow.
Well, the bees are so into what they're doing that a lot of times they don't even mind. Now, I wouldn't do that with a hornet.
Right.
I definitely wouldn't do that with a yellow jacket.
But this is proof. I tell people all the time. I'm like, no, he's the bee whisperer. He pets them. He pets them.
That's my finger. And it helps if sometimes you can tell they're kind of sluggish anyway.
Yeah. Are they drunk on nectar?
But I'm just barely touching him,
Yeah.
Just 2 or 3 times, and then I leave him alone. I don't want to push it, and I don't want to, you're not supposed to disturb nature or whatever. And I think that for the most part that's true,
this
but
looks organic to me.
I didn't. Yeah,
it does.
I didn't hurt anything. The bee was fine. The bee got his pollen. He was still happy.
Yeah. And he made a friend.
He made a friend, yeah.
Look at this guy. He's so cool.
This praying mantis actually was right outside our kitchen window. We
He's
have
so cool.
big lace cap hydrangeas right outside the window. And I just looked out there one day and he was there. And so I very, very slowly opened the window, opened the screen, got my camera, zoomed in, and just got as many pictures as I could. There were a lot of them that weren't worth showing anybody, but at some point he decided to check me out, and that's when I got this one.
I think actually it looks like he went down to the Sears portrait studio. He's got that fancy background in the back, and he's got the lighting, and he's like, they're like, no, put your leg on this leaf, you know.
Right. He's like, I feel stupid. No, it's gonna look great. Trust me. Just angle
Tilt
just a
your
little
head
bit
like
more.
this.
Yeah. No, that's good. Hold that. Well, this butterfly is still alive, but very, very intently trying to get pollen out of the middle of this daylily.
This one would be titled, I'm All In.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah. I thought that was fun for something different.
That's so cute.
And then this is one of my favorites, the tiger swallowtail.
Beautiful, beautiful.
The males are the ones that have the extra blue and red on them, and it's just a beautiful butterfly. And again, you really can't get them to pose for you. When you're hoping they'll do a certain thing, they're kind of all over the flower, and then here and here and here. And the next thing you know, they're going over here to another flower, and then they're over here. And this one was kind enough to kind of pose for me with, I'm talking about that narrow field of view that's in focus, but when they're all spread out on a flat plane like that and they've got their good side at you, that's really fun to get a great shot.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So those are the butterfly pictures for this week, and that's my show and tell. I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit on the shorter side because I wanted you all to be able to enjoy Hillary's interview with my father, Ron McClung, my favorite person. And so without any further ado, here is that interview.
Awesome. All right. So just like David said, we are back. And today we have a special guest. I think you are our first guest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's true. David will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. But so today we have my father-in-law, Ron McClung, and we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is the rapture.
Yeah, it's a great topic, and I think you and I were talking earlier, and you said, "What is the rapture?" And that's a great question. And we get our information, of course, from the Scripture because that's the authority.
Right.
And we turn to the book of Matthew for that because Matthew is the gospel writer who gives us more of Jesus's long discourses, his expositions. And so in Matthew 24, he talks about the end times because they were in the coming out of the temple, and the disciples asked some questions. It's Matthew 24, verses 1 to 3.
Okay, yep, I'll read those. So Matthew 24, 1 through 3, Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings. Do you see all these things, he asked. Truly, I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Yeah, so when they asked those questions, there were really three questions that they asked Jesus. They asked, when will this happen, referring to the destruction of the temple. He told them that the stones would be cast down. Mm-hmm. So when would that happen? And then what will be the sign of your coming? And then it's actually a third question, and what about the end of the age? And in answering those three questions in chapters 24 and 25 of Matthew, Jesus doesn't exactly give them in the order in which they were asked. It would be a lot neater if he had done that. But it takes a careful reading. So then, as we read through those chapters, to determine which question is he answering
Right.
at any given time, and because they're not in sort of chronological order, it's caused some confusion.
Sure.
And so that's why we study it carefully.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, because when I read through that passage, I feel that. I think, oh, well, was that the answer to that one, or was that when he was talking about this one? And so I definitely have felt that before.
Well, in verse 36, you might read that verse.
Yeah, so we're in the same chapter, Matthew 24, verse 36. Jesus says, "But about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father."
Right. So Jesus is telling us that the time is coming when life will just be going on normally, as like it was in the days of Noah. He talks about
Right.
that. And people are marrying and giving in marriage and working and living and sleeping and eating and going through life. But then he says that suddenly some people are going to disappear.
Yeah.
The example he gave in their culture was two women grinding at the mill.
Okay.
One would be taken and the other would be left. So it's this sudden, unexpected disappearance of people. And then when Paul wrote to the Thessalonians, he was dealing with the same event this is in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4.
Okay. All right. I have that. 1 Thessalonians 4:13. "Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. According to the Lord's word, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will be with the Lord forever.
Yeah.
Therefore, encourage one another with these words."
So it's another example of a sudden, unexpected occurrence when the Lord comes and people don't expect it, and he takes people away, the dead in Christ first, and then those who are alive and remain. Some have already been taken care of by the undertaker. Some of us are looking forward to the upper taker, as we sometimes say it. Yeah. But then back in Matthew 24 again, Jesus teaching, he gives us another statement in verse 42.
Okay, so Matthew 24:42, Jesus says, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come."
Right. So once again, there's no point in predicting dates
Right.
as to when this is going to happen. I think it was 1986 that somebody wrote a book on reasons why.
88.
It was 88?
Yeah, because I was a senior in high school, and I
Okay.
thought, well, that's it. I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids. I mean, I hate to say, like, you don't ever want to say, oh, I don't want Jesus to come back. But
Right.
when you're graduating high school, you think, I've been waiting my whole life to be an adult, and now I'm done.
Yeah, right. Well, I think a lot of people felt that way. And in fact, some people quit their jobs and were just waiting for the Lord to come back
Really?
because he had, this man had written the book and predicted that the Lord was going to come back in 88. So people said, well, there's
Yep.
no point doing anything else. We're just going to
That's
wait
right.
till that happens. And then it seems like I remember that when it didn't happen, then he wrote another book about why it would happen in 1989, and it didn't sell as well as the first one did. So we do expect him to come back,
Yes.
but we don't know when.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
we had talked earlier, too, about sometimes when I hear people criticize the rapture, they'll say, "Oh, that's a new invention. That wasn't, the original fathers, and that word's not even in the Bible." And so I did actually find the Greek word for it. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I did find in 1 Thessalonians 4, where we just read, that phrase "caught up" in the Greek is harpazo,
That's right.
and which means to snatch or to take away.
Yep.
So maybe we could just call it the harpazo. I like that.
Yeah.
But that was the Greek translation, and then later in Latin it was translated rapturo, which
Yeah.
is where we get that word. So
Right.
really, when people say the word rapture isn't in the Bible, it's just because that's Latin,
Yeah.
and we're not calling it by the Greek word, but it is in there. The idea.
Yes,
is in there.
the idea is there, and somebody decided to call it the rapture as a kind of a transliteration of the Greek, and no harm, no foul. It
Right.
just gives it a label.
Yep.
But so we know he will come back.
Yeah.
We just don't know when.
You don't want to
he
set a
will
date.
return.
You want to.
Nope.
We could sell some books just
Well,
one time.
Yeah, one time only. Yeah, that's the problem. Well, Jesus then went on to illustrate this whole business of sudden, unexpected disappearance
Okay.
in Matthew 25, when he talked about the virgins
Yes.
waiting for the bridegroom. Something that actually happened in Jewish culture
Right.
in that day and age, and I'm no expert on this, but I read somewhere that a man was actually in Israel and saw this kind of thing happen.
Oh, that'd be really
And
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
and but the bridegroom had put out the word that he was coming, but they didn't know exactly when.
Okay.
But in the story Jesus told, it was the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish virgins. The wise ones had taken extra oil, so if the bridegroom's coming was delayed, they would have enough oil to keep burning. And the foolish ones did not. And so when they went off to buy more oil,
Yeah.
that's when the bridegroom came, and they missed the whole thing.
Yeah. That's a very sobering
Yeah,
story.
it is.
How can we keep our oil full? What does that mean for us, really?
Well, I think we need to keep our relationship with the Lord up to date.
Yeah.
And, it's easy. All of us are tempted to drift away, get our minds preoccupied with other things. And so to give our relationship with the Lord priority is, an extremely important thing, because we don't want to miss that.
Right.
Yeah. I read a story somewhere about a king who had a court jester. And somehow the story went that the king was preparing for a trip. And the jester asked him where he was going and when he was leaving, and he hadn't done a very good job of making preparations. And so the jester took that comparison and said, you're going to make another journey, and are you prepared for that?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
what we all have to think about. I sometimes joke around a little bit and say, well, I'm prepared, but I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Meaning, I've prepared. I've asked the Lord Jesus to come into my heart. I know He saved me from my sins. I know I have a relationship with Him, which is based on His grace, not through anything that I've done. And but I'm not ready to go because I feel like He still has things for me to do.
Right.
And, I have family that I love. I have grandchildren that aren't married yet, and there's probably going to be more great-grandchildren coming along.
Yep.
And so I have a lot to live for, is to put it another way.
Yeah.
But when the Lord's ready for me to go, then, of course, I want to be ready.
And I think that's really good. Sometimes I think, too, when you're younger and you have your whole life ahead, like in 1988,
Yes.
I was kind of scared that might happen. And I think it's good at any time to remember, like, it's okay to think, well, I still have a lot of life to live. I think that's a healthy attitude in a lot of ways because, otherwise the Lord would just save us and just take us.
Yes.
But He has work for us to do. He
That's
has
right.
plans for us, an abundant life that He's working through. So I just, I know sometimes maybe people feel guilty, like, oh, they feel bad that maybe they still want to get things done here.
Yeah.
I think that's healthy.
It is for a fact. It's just when we put so much emphasis on what we have to do here,
Right.
that we don't give any consideration to what's going to happen next.
Right.
When I was younger and I used to hear messages about the second coming, it brought fear to my heart because I wasn't prepared.
Right.
And if you're not prepared, it is a kind of a fearful thought.
Yes.
That the Lord's going to bring everything to an end, and you won't have prepared for that day. But amazing thing, once I received Jesus into my heart, it's not something to fear, it's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, now fast forward 30 some years later, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord, I'm good any day. If you're good, I'm good. We can just settle this up. But I do think that does happen as you, for sure, when you know the Lord, then you're excited to meet him. And I think the longer you live, you're like, yeah, I'm looking for that perfect world. I know that this one isn't as it was originally intended, and I'm looking forward to the better version.
Well, you know that in our family we've had a real example of this. My dear wife Carol, David's mother, a little less than 2 years ago, she became very ill.
Yeah.
And when she was in the hospital, she said to me, I'm ready to go, and I want to go, and I think it's time to go. And I said, I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Right.
And she said, I respect that, and I love you, but I will love to see you in heaven.
Yeah.
And so I knew that it was time.
Yes.
In fact, I said, do you feel like the Lord has told you this? And she said, I think so.
Yeah.
And so she had that kind of relationship with the Lord, even though she was very ill. I'd never seen her that low in her physical condition. And so a few days later, she slipped off, and the Lord took her home, which gives me another reason
Absolutely.
to look forward.
Right. And what does the Bible say? That we don't grieve like the rest of the world, but we grieve with hope.
So true.
And I do. I imagine her with the Lord. I pray and ask the Lord to give her little messages.
So do I.
I think that he passes them along.
Right.
But I do. I look forward to the day when we can all be with our loved ones, be with Mom again, and I think we don't spend enough time imagining the next life.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And even in our most vivid imagination, Scripture says we still haven't realized all that the Lord has prepared for us. I was a pastor for 33 years, and then I worked in church administration for over 20 years after that. And along the way, I conducted a lot of funerals. And there's such a difference in working with families where they know that their loved one was ready and is in heaven, as opposed to those who either it's not a family of faith, they don't know, or the loved one didn't leave assurance of that. It makes a huge difference in how people grieve.
Yes.
But as you said, we don't grieve as those who have no hope.
Right.
Because we do have hope. We grieve,
For sure.
but it's with hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had another verse that we didn't get to.
Yes.
And we're not gonna leave without doing this verse, because this one is about my horse that I am going to get. Lord, I'm holding you to your word. You said I get a pony, and I'm gonna get a pony. But this is in Revelation 19:11. And it says, I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. With justice he judges and wages war. His eyes are like blazing fire, and on his head are many crowns. He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. He is dressed in a robe dipped in blood, and his name is the Word of God. The armies of heaven were following him. I'm hoping that's me. riding on white horses and dressed in fine linen, white and clean. Coming out of his mouth is a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations.
Wow.
All right. Am I getting a horse?
It sounds to me like you will be getting a
I
horse.
hope I'm getting a horse.
Yeah, and a white one at that.
Yes.
Well, I mean, all the more reason to look forward to that
Yes.
day. So if we could put a bow around this, a ribbon around this, and tie it in a bow, we don't know when he's coming.
Right.
But I remember a story about a principal in an elementary school who told the students he had to go away for a few days, but when he came back, he was going to check, and whoever had the cleanest desk, they would get a special prize.
Nice.
And so this one little girl said, it's going to be my desk. I'm going to get the prize. And the other students said, no way, your desk is always the messiest one in the classroom. She said, yes, but I'm going to clean it up every Friday,
Okay.
and it'll be ready.
Yep.
And they said, well, what if he comes back on a Wednesday, and you have it, it's a mess by then. Well, she said, maybe I'll just clean it up at the end of every day,
Okay.
and then it'll be ready. And they said, well, what if he comes in the afternoon and you've messed it up in the morning? She said, I'm just going to get it ready and keep it ready. And that's what we need to do. We need to get ready, be prepared, and then stay prepared so that whatever happens, whenever it happens,
Right.
we're ready to listen and heed his call.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
advice. Good
Yeah.
advice. Well, and that's like the 5 wise virgins who kept their oil full,
Exactly.
kept their lamps trimmed. And that's really good advice. Thank you so much for coming today.
You're
We're
welcome.
glad to rope you into this, into our podcast. And I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge and just your willingness to come and to share with us today. So, all right. So that's all we have for today. David usually does the wrap up. I don't know what to do. We're going to do this podcast again sometime, and we look forward to having you with us. But until then, I'm Hillary. This is my father-in-law, Ron McClung, and this has been the David and Hillary Show.
See ya.